The crystalline spires of the Zephyrian council chambers stretched toward twin moons, their surfaces reflecting the amber glow of the emergency session's warning lights. Elder Vorthak's 6 eyes dilated with concern as he addressed the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. "We gather tonight to discuss the human question." His voice resonated through the translation matrices, reaching every species in their native tongue. Specifically, the incident at Kepler Station 7. A collective shudder rippled through the chamber. Even the normally stoic granite lords of Titan Prime shifted uncomfortably on their mineral thrones. The mere mention of that battle sent waves of unease through representatives who had witnessed stellar wars and cosmic catastrophes without flinching. Ambassador Thys of the Serpentine Collective raised her scaled hand. "Elder Vorthak, surely we exaggerate. One creature against the entire Kethmoran Death Legion. Even humans have limits." "That," Vorthak replied grimly, "is what we all believed." Lieutenant Sarah Chen had been conducting routine maintenance on Kepler Station 7's outer hull when the Kethmoran fleet emerged from hyperspace. 300 vessels, their obsidian hulls bristling with plasma cannons and neural disruptors, surrounded the small research outpost like predators circling wounded prey. The station's automated distress beacon activated immediately, but Chen knew help wouldn't arrive for 72 hours minimum. The 43 scientists and technicians aboard the station possessed no weapons beyond mining tools and emergency flares. They were researchers, not soldiers. The Kethmoran Death Legion had earned their reputation by conquering 17 star systems in as many months. Their warriors stood 8 feet tall with exoskeletons that could deflect most conventional weapons and neural implants that made them nearly immune to pain and fear. A single Kethmoran soldier could easily overpower 5 grown humans. The station's commander, Dr. Marcus Webb, activated the general communications array with trembling hands. "This is Kepler Station 7 to approaching vessels. We are a civilian research facility. We have no weapons and pose no threat." The response came in the guttural growls of the Kethmoran war tongue. "Humans will surrender. Comply or be destroyed." Dr. Webb looked around at his terrified staff, then keyed the microphone again. We surrender. Please don't harm." The transmission cut off as the first Kethmoran boarding pod slammed into the station's hull. Chen watched through her helmet's display as the pods disgorged their contents. Dozens of armored warriors poured into the station's corridors, their plasma rifles charging with ominous hums. She was trapped outside, tethered to the hull by magnetic clamps, completely cut off from her colleagues. Through the station's windows, she could see the massacre beginning. The Kethmoran transmitted a live feed of their conquest. Elder Vorthak continued, his voice heavy with remembered horror. "They intended it as propaganda, a demonstration of their might to discourage resistance. Instead, they documented something that challenged everything we thought we knew about warfare." The chamber's holographic display activated, showing the grainy footage from that day. Representatives leaned forward despite their revulsion, unable to look away from the historical moment that had changed galactic politics forever. Chen moved with purpose across the station's hull, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal surface. She had watched the Kethmoran warriors systematically hunt down her friends and colleagues, herding them like livestock into the main cargo bay. Dr. Webb's desperate pleas for mercy had been met with contemptuous laughter. The human species might be physically weaker than most galactic civilizations, but they possessed something that had puzzled xenobiologists for decades: an absolutely irrational response to impossible odds. Where other species calculated survival probabilities and acted accordingly, humans often chose the path that made no mathematical sense. Chen began with the mining charges. The station's industrial bay contained enough shaped explosives to crack asteroids. Chen worked methodically, her engineer's training serving her well as she rigged a network of charges throughout the station's superstructure. She had 17 minutes before the Kethmoran finished their interrogation and moved to the execution phase. Next, she accessed the station's atmospheric controls. Kepler Station 7's life support systems could be overridden manually from external maintenance panels. Chen began venting atmosphere from specific sections, creating pressure differentials that would work to her advantage. The Kethmoran had made a crucial error. They assumed a single human posed no threat. The first explosion occurred in Section C, Vorthak narrated as the hologram showed a brilliant flash. Lieutenant Chen had somehow triggered a cascade failure in the station's fusion auxiliary systems. 37 Kethmoran warriors were instantly vaporized. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Kethmoran representative, War Commander Thexel, remained silent, but his mandibles clicked nervously. Chen moved like a ghost through the depressurized sections, using her knowledge of the station's maintenance tunnels to stay ahead of the increasingly frantic Kethmoran search parties. She struck without warning. A mining laser through a ventilation grate here, a gravity field generator overload there. The Kethmoran warriors found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't understand. Their advanced tactical systems had been designed to counter organized military resistance, not the seemingly random attacks of a single determined human using improvised weapons. When they tried to execute the hostages as retaliation, Chen triggered the atmospheric venting system. The sudden decompression scattered the warriors and allowed the civilians to escape to the secured emergency pods. By the battle's end, Vorthak continued, Lieutenant Chen had eliminated 147 Kethmoran warriors using nothing but maintenance tools and her own ingenuity. The Death Legion retreated in disorder, their confidence shattered. Ambassador Thys raised her hand again. But surely this was an exceptional case. One human with unusual training and favorable circumstances. War Commander Thexel finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We have encountered humans in 17 subsequent conflicts. Every time they fight as though defeat is impossible. They do not calculate odds. They do not surrender when logic demands it. They simply continue. The rescue ships arrived to find Lieutenant Sarah Chen sitting calmly in the station's command center, monitoring the Kethmoran fleet's retreat. She had suffered 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and severe dehydration, but she had saved every civilian aboard the station. When asked how she had accomplished the impossible, Chen simply shrugged and said, "They messed with my friends." Elder Vorthak dimmed the holographic display and faced the assembly. This incident has forced us to reconsider humanity's role in galactic civilization. They are not the strongest species, nor the most technologically advanced, but they possess something that may be more valuable than either: the absolute refusal to accept inevitable defeat. The question before us tonight is simple. Do we continue to underestimate them at our own peril? The chamber fell silent as representatives contemplated a universe where the smallest and seemingly weakest species might also be the most dangerous. In the end, they voted unanimously to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. After all, it was better to have humans as allies than to risk facing them as enemies. The Kethmoran Death Legion never fully recovered from that day. Some say they still wake up screaming about the single human who taught an entire galaxy that sometimes the impossible is just another word for Tuesday.